Now you're watching Gearz.
You know, there is no question that movies and TV can have a big effect on our culture.
It's like University of Illinois.
From what we wear,
We just washed the hair.
to what we eat,
Vinny was in charge of the tomato sauce.
Ah, got the smoke.
This is a tasty burger.
to the way we talk.
Hey, bud, let's party.
We are always being influenced by the screen, large or small.
Go ahead. Make my day.
The automotive world is the same way.
Hey, you're supposed to be the fastest thing in the valley, man, but that can't be your car. It must be your mama's car.
Let me tell you what Melvin Toast is packing right here. I've got 411 posi track out back, 750 double pumper, Edelbrock intakes, Ford over 30, 11-to-1 pop-up pistons, turbojet, 390 horsepower. We're talking some muscle.
Hey, man, I know you got this thing out of a comic book. I saw the ad, $295.
And our car culture is continually being influenced by what kind of vehicles we see on television and in movies. And since the beginning, most hero cars on the large or small screen were usually nice, new, pristine vehicles that rarely got beat up or scratched, no matter how crazy the stunts were. The problem is that's not very realistic for the average gearhead, because most of us start off with an old junker and then we drive it as we're restoring it with the goal that we will eventually get it done. Now, the good news is everybody knows you can have a lot of fun driving a vehicle as you're restoring it. The bad news is, for the longest time, nobody wanted to see them. I mean, people were always asking, hey, when's it going to be done? Your parents wouldn't let you park it at the house. Most dates wouldn't go out with you in them. And if you went to a car show, they wouldn't even let you in the gate. But then along came a movie about a misfit guy that drove around in a beat-up old Mopar that looked like it came out of a junkyard. And he didn't care because he loved the car. The movie was called Joe Dirt. And whether you like the movie or not, there is no denying the impact that that beat-up old Dodge Daytona had on American car culture. Within a few years, original paint and unrestored cars and trucks became acceptable. Rat rods began to show up at hot rod events as a rustic alter ego to the slick, clean show cars. People began talking about barn finds and going to swap meets to find original parts. And having a vehicle with cool patina was now almost as popular as having a great paint job. Finally, the average hot rodder with the unfinished project had gained acceptance and was actually allowed inside the show as opposed to having to park out in the North 40 behind the porta potties. But what about the car that started all this, that Joe Dirt Daytona? Was that just a fluke or was that actually planned? And was it a real Daytona? Did it have rust? What was under the hood? I mean, there was all kinds of questions. So we're going to jump into that story and we're going to give you the real dirt on the Joe Dirt car and show you why there is now a matching Superbird that goes with it. Okay, to answer the first and most burning question, the Joe Dirt car is not a real '69 Dodge Daytona. Since David Spade is a Mopar guy, he knew he wanted a winged car in the movie. So, starting with a rust-free, plum-crazy purple '69 Charger, a Daytona wing and nose were added. Then the rest of the car was weathered and painted to look like a rusty hodgepodge of parts to fit the character of Joe Dirt. The white interior was gutted and then filled with every cheap aftermarket trinket that was ever available, from the mismatched fake fur seat covers to the chain steering wheel and the barefoot gas pedal. Under the hood, the Charger 440 engine provided plenty of power. Obviously, it was nothing fancy, but the shock it sent through the car world was immediate as people tried to wrap their head around the concept of driving a car like this instead of restoring it. Some people loved it, some people hated it, but everybody got a chuckle out of it.
The first time I saw Joe Dirt had to be around 2002. You know, it was on in late afternoon, and it's just flipped through channels, and I hear Hemi, you know, and it's like, wait, come on now. And so I come over and I just start watching this, and I just remember after watching this movie, I'm like, this is awesome. All he wants is, he's got a Mopar and Hemis and convertible in the Daytona. I'm like, and I'm obviously a huge Mopar guy. And we got the DVD, and I've had it in my truck with the kids growing up. My kids know every line of the movie. They've probably seen it 100 times. So Joe Dirt just became a way of life, and you know, we ended up getting Joe Dirt license plates. You know, my handle's always been J DirtE, and it's been a wild ride.
After the movie, the car went to a collector overseas and disappeared for a while, but it never fell off the radar of Joe Dirt fans like Jeff and Troy.
My buddy Dalton from Mopars 5150 calls me up in the middle of the day. I'm like, what's up? He's like, dude, your car's up. I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, your car, the Joe Dirt car, is going to be at Barrett-Jackson in West Palm Springs next weekend. You got to go buy this.
So when they saw that the car was coming up for sale at Barrett-Jackson, they teamed up to see if they could bring the car home.
I don't think 225 is going to buy this, do you? And he's like, probably not. And I said, why don't we just go in halves and we'll just buy the damn car. We'll just make it happen. And he's like, well, I've never bought a car with somebody before, but you know, I know how bad you want this Joe Dirt car, and I know how bad I want it. But you know, I'm not going to want to spend, you know, $300,000-400,000 out of pocket on this. And I'm like, well, let's pull our money together and buy it.
The result was one of the most memorable moments in Barrett-Jackson history.
It's sold. The Daytona is the more desirable car than the Hemi GTX.
Not sure what to say about that.
In a world of economic uncertainty, there will always be a need for quality tools and people who can use them. That's why becoming a Cornwell tool dealer is one of the best career moves you can make. With routes available all across the nation, it's a great way to be your own boss, supply high-quality tools to professionals, and make some real money. If you're tired of working for someone else, have the drive to succeed, and want a career that can be successful no matter what happens on Wall Street, there's a Cornwell tool truck with your name on the side.
Hey, welcome back to Gearz, where today we are focusing on TV and movie cars and their impact on our car culture. Now, the specific focus today is that old nasty Dodge Daytona from the movie Joe Dirt. And when we left off, a couple of crazy gearheads had gone together to buy that thing at auction. Check it out.
History's talking about $300,000 now. The current bid is sold.
We got it, 300. All right, brother. All right, brother. Nice job, dude.
Now, if that $300,000 price tag left your eyes watering,
dreams do come true.
There's a reason that it went so high. Obviously, there's the car itself. But the car also came with a whole trunk load of props and documentation from the movie. Now, this included the clothing, the mop, the director's chair, the wig, as well as signed photographs and scripts, and even the actual trash that littered the dash of the car in the movie. This is the kind of stuff that you want if you're investing in a collectible car, because all of this adds value and pedigree. But now comes the big dilemma that you face with any kind of collector car. What do you do with it? I mean, you can't really drive it very much. You can't modify it to make it perform better. You can't alter the way it looks in any way, and you better not wreck it, even if it's the Joe Dirt car. Well, fortunately, Jeff had a plan to get around this from the very beginning.
You know, this thing has no interior in it. Yeah. I mean, it is a movie car. It is irreplaceable. There's only one. You know, if somebody runs a red light or something happens and somebody steals it or whatever, you know, you can't replace it.
So, once again, working with Troy at Mopars 5150, Jeff located a real 1970 Superbird in need of restoration. Then, in true Joe Dirt fashion, instead of doing a high-dollar original restoration like everyone expected, he did a high-dollar replica restoration to make the Superbird look as close to the original Dirt Daytona as possible.
Because I will drive this all the time. This summer's coming. I mean, got air conditioning, we got vintage air in this, we got wheelwood brakes, new motor. We're gonna drive this thing all the time.
Now, if you think the Superbird is just randomly hacked together with some spray bombs, You need to look a little closer. Just like the original movie car started out nice, and then each panel was hand-weathered and aged to have the right look, Jeff called up Scott at Underground Art Studios in Cedar Rapids to have him reproduce each panel on the car.
You know, the first 2 weeks was just getting the colors, you know, because you got to remember, you're not just going to the paint. I need Joe Dirt blue and Joe Dirt yellow. He had to mix all the paint to match. Then he had to make test panels and start working on rust, what color the rust is. So whereas all the prep work usually on a restoration is body work and getting it smooth, all the prep work on this was getting the right colors.
Special aging techniques were used to simulate paint cracks on the doors. Concrete dust was sprinkled on wet paint to simulate runs. Even fake rust was created on seams and edges that looks and feels just like rusty metal. If you compare the cars panel to panel, you'll see that they are virtually mirror images of each other, with each panel becoming its own work of art. This kind of work is not easy and it is not cheap.
I kind of ran this by him. I said, hey, dude, I'm thinking about cloning the Joe Dirt car. And then his eyes lit up. He was like, no way.
So he was all over it.
He's like, you want me to do this? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, you know it's going to be a lot of money, don't you? And I said, yeah, but I don't want anybody else to do it except him.
Of course, most people know that the Superbird nose is slightly different than the Daytona nose, but the weathering and the details look the same. And that idea carries back into the rear wing and the trunk lid as well.
What's crazy is you got a lot of stuff like this trunk. You know, this trunk's 6 inches longer than the other one.
Yeah.
So he had to, okay, here's what this one looks like, but he's got to, you know, imagine how would, you know, to make it look like a copy, but keep the same theme.
Now inside the cars, the interiors look identical at first glance, with the fuzzy seat covers, the chain steering wheel, and the barefoot gas pedal. But since the Superbird is going to be a driver for Jeff, the pistol grip 4-speed, the console, the carpet, the door panels, and the headliner are necessities for comfort and really the only way that his wife's going to ride in the car with him.
Oh, my wife won't get in either one of these.
So this is not her favorite car?
No. Yeah, it smells like gas. It smells like oil, and it's really loud. I'm like, that's why it's awesome.
Under the hood, Jeff wanted more power in the DirtBird, so a hot-rodded 440 was stuffed in for tire roasting capability. And of course, air conditioning was added to keep the passengers cool. Then, as a final touch, Jeff had Paul at Bare Knuckle Performance modify his motorcycle to match.
And Jeff's like, well, we need a bike now to match. But we said, hey, let's just build a really cool go-fast motorcycle that handles well and gets where it's going quick, and just do the paint job. So keep it classy.
Now I know this looks like a junker, but with the turbo and other modifications, this bike will peel the skin off your face if you lay into it. And if that's not a crazy tire-smoking trio, I don't know what is. Now, you may not like the Joe Dirt car, and you may not like what Jeff did to his Superbird, but every gearhead can appreciate the time and the talent that it took to build those vehicles. And that's the cool thing about the automotive world. We all like something different, and it's all good. So, if you've ever wanted to do something crazy to a car or truck, do it. You might be surprised how much fun you'll have.
On back roads and drag strips, farm fields and the interstate, there's a movement growing. A movement of hardworking men and women that trust Hot Shot's secret to take care of their vehicles. It's the fastest growing diesel additive brand, but you don't have to take our word for it. Take theirs. Lab formulated, dyno tested, track proven. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
And now, Parts Bin.
Everybody knows that the third-generation Hemi engines are a force to be reckoned with. But in spite of their incredible power potential, they're a little lacking in the visual department, especially when compared to the original Hemis. Well, Speedway Motors has a solution with these third-generation Hemi retro valve covers. Now, these are made out of cast aluminum, and they have the cool thinned aluminum look that everybody knows and loves, and they'll bolt right onto your third-generation Hemi from the 5.7 all the way to the 6.4. Now, as far as these coils, you can see that the coil bosses are threaded and put right in place on the valve covers. They come with the hardware, so you can mount original coils or aftermarket coils. And as far as sealing, they use the factory O-ring style seals. So these will bolt right in place of those old boring valve covers. So if you have a third generation Hemi and you want it to look the part, Speedway Motors has a solution with the Gen 3 retro Hemi valve covers. When you're working on a project, there is one thing you are eventually going to need: replacement body parts. And since most junkyards have been picked clean over the years, where do you go for that? Well, when it comes to replacement sheet metal, one name that you need to know is DirtE, because they specialize in quality aftermarket sheet metal for Ford and Chevy cars and trucks, as well as Mopar A, B, and E body cars. Now, as you can see, they've got everything from bumpers to fenders to quarter panels to hoods. They've got all the big panels done in the same gauge steel as the original panels, and they've got some of the most accurate stampings on the market. So that's going to save you a lot of time when you go to fit these on the vehicle. They also have smaller brackets and hardware like this that are usually damaged or hard to find or rusty. Now you don't have to reuse old junk with your new fenders. If you're a car guy, you know that rust and dents are eventually going to happen. Now you know where the solution is: DirtE. You know, one of the challenges when working on a project car or truck is finding the right parts that fit with the personality of what you're building. And for top quality aluminum parts, you need to check out this stuff from Eddie Motorsports. You need a custom steering wheel? Man, they got them in all kinds of sizes and configurations and colors. And of course, they've got the adapters that will bolt them onto pretty much any aftermarket steering column. Now, if you're looking to upgrade your hinges, they've got those, both the hood and the trunk hinges for most popular applications. Then they've got smaller stuff like hood pins, they've got hood latches, they've got electrical cutoff switches, they've got body braces, door seals, and check out these mirrors. They've got the round-headed mirrors for a smaller application, then they've got the rectangular head for the larger applications, but they both have this aluminum construction, which is a far cry from the old pot metal and plastic stuff that we used to get. So if you're looking for the right parts that will really set off the details of your project, now you know where to find it: Eddie Motorsports. Everybody knows that you need to have a good way to mount accessories on an engine. And Holley answered that call with the mid-mount accessory systems for the LS, for the small block Chevy, and for the third generation Hemi. But what about small block Ford? Well, you're in luck, because Holley has just come out with this mid-mount accessory drive system for the small block Ford. Now, as you can see, just like the other systems, it uses a big central aluminum manifold that bolts right to the front of the engine, and then all of your accessories bolt to this. No extra brackets, no extra braces needed. So you got your water pump that goes here in the center. You got your alternator that goes here. You got your air conditioning compressor that goes there. Your power steering pump that goes there, and of course everything is run by a single serpentine belt, just like most modern engines. Of course, it has all the pulleys, the hardware, and the gaskets that you're going to need to hook it all up and make it work. So if you're into Fords and you've been looking for a good accessory system, now you know where to go: Holley's mid-mount accessory drive system for small block Ford.
If you like cars, if you like coffee, you're gonna love Gearz coffee cars. Because in each pack, you'll find a special blend of rich, robust coffee to get your blood pumping, as well as a collectible cartoon sticker and matching photo card of some of the wildest vehicles Stacey has built or featured over the years. Collect the whole series and be sure to keep an eye out for the ultra-rare Strange Brew card that are added to random packages to keep things interesting. It's Gearz coffee cars, the best bean on the car scene. Can't get enough Gearz? Make sure to check out the Tales of a Gearhead podcast, where Stacey brings a lifetime of automotive knowledge, friendships, and expertise to the listener. Also, check out our social media channels for updates and videos of Gearz projects, as well as special contests, giveaways, and events. If you have a vehicle you want to enter into What Are You Working On, go to staceydavid.com and submit it. There's also the online store and tons of other Gearhead information that will encourage you to get out there, build something, and go drive it. What are you working on? Brought to you by Woodward Fabrication, selling quality metalworking equipment since 1966.
Today's What Are You Working On comes from Daryl, and he is from Colleyville, Texas. And as you might expect, his project is a truck. A 1964 Chevy C10 to be exact. Take a look at this thing. Now, obviously that truck is in really good shape, but it hasn't always looked that way, and there's quite a story behind it. So here's how it goes. It belonged to his grandfather, and his grandfather passed away in 1980, and then his grandmother sold the truck in 1981. Well, Daryl didn't like that. He wanted the truck, but it took him 18 years to finally track the truck down and buy it back. That's perseverance, man. I love it. And so he said he took it all apart and did a complete frame-off restoration. You see the thing here. The frame obviously needed to be cleaned up, and they went through that thing. They stuck in a 350 V8. Daryl says it took 8 years to do this restoration because they completely disassembled it, took it down to a bare frame, worked every piece, and of course the truck had a lot of use. I mean, it was a Texas truck. Not a lot of rust, but a lot of wear and tear. So each fender was worked, all the body was put together, they redid the interior, and of course picking out the paint is always a bit of a challenge, but they settled on this really cool blue, which really sets the truck off. Now he said, of course, his granddaughter wants the truck, but he thinks it's gonna go to her mother instead. Well, they'll be fighting over it, you know that. Now he says the cool thing is, he says, Gearz helped me build this truck. He said he watched hours of episodes to help him do the restoration, and he said his project planning book was invaluable. Man, that is awesome. That's what they're for. He said, keep at it, and he said, we'll keep updates as the truck keeps moving forward. Daryl, great project, man. I just love it that you kept it in the family. So to recognize your project, Daryl, we're gonna give you one of these Super bead rollers from Woodward Fab. This is a manual bead roller, comes with a bunch of dies, so you can do some metal work when you need to. Then we're going to give you one of these Gearz fender covers so you can protect that paint when you need to work on that truck. Then you already have a deluxe project planning book, but we're going to give you another one. This is for the next project that you're going to do, because you got to have one for each project. Then we're going to give you one of these Sergeant Rock die casts. And then we're going to finish it off with some of these Gearz coffee cars, so you can have a cup of coffee while you're working and see what collectible stickers inside. Now, for the rest of you guys, if you want to get in on this and get your projects featured on the show, you got to send them to us. Go to our website, go to Gearz Nation, and submit it into What Are You Working On? The website's also the place to find out more information on any products you may have seen on the show, any Gearz merchandise, and how to join Gearz Nation. Also, make sure you check out our social media. That's Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, all at Official Stacey David. YouTube is also the place to view all of your favorite Gearz episodes, as well as the Gearz Restoration Series and our full project builds that follow a project from beginning to end. And finally, if you're a radio person, be sure and check out our podcast, Tales of a Gearhead. All right, that wraps it up for us today, which means it is time for you to get out and start working on something just like Daryl did. It doesn't have to be anything crazy, just something that you're doing yourself. We'll see you next time.